Whenever someone says Capcom, gamers immediately think of Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, and Street Fighter game series. Because those are the most popular ones and have a very dedicated fan base. But what a lot of people don't know is that Capcom was responsible for developing and publishing a bucket load of games on PlayStation 2. You know, when game development didn't cost hundreds of millions of dollars and the industry was filled with developers who wanted to explore new ventures. Capcom, during the PlayStation 2 era, was responsible for either developing or publishing games like Killer 7, Beautiful Joe, Onimusha series, Okami, Haunting Grounds, and God Hand. And yes, these are the games that people do remember fondly, but there is a slew of games that Capcom was responsible for which people seem to have forgotten about. Games like Chaos Legion, Shadow of Rome, Devil Kings, and Maximo game series.
I'll take that.
This is also the generation where Capcom tried to revitalize some of the older games with new gameplay mechanics and designs. Clock Tower 3 went from a point-and-click game to a 3D survival horror which deserves a video on its own. Resident Evil Outbreak was launched with online co-op for selected regions, and Final Fight Streetwise. Yes, Capcom's 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up went full 3D on PlayStation 2. You went full 3D. Never go full 3D. Okay, jokes aside, but Capcom tried to revitalize its own arcade classic with fresh gameplay mechanics, story mode, and a semi-open world which you can explore on foot.
What the f is this piece of shit?
So, did they nail the landing? Is the game any good? Time to take a look back at a game which was a bold step in a new direction for Final Fight series. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my honest opinion on Final Fight Streetwise on PlayStation 2. I was looking forward to playing Streetwise not because I'm a fan of Final Fight series, but because I remember playing a lot of side-scrolling 2D beat-em-ups when I was a kid. Games like Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, Streets of Rage, X-Men. Looking back, yes, the difficulty was punishingly hard because the game wanted to milk me for my money. But I still had a good time. Fast forward to current generation and I feel like beat-em-up genre is slowly fading away. Yes, we have had Sifu recently, but before that, the only games I could remember playing that had amazing hand-to-hand combat were the Arkham games. So, yeah, a Final Fight game by Capcom on PS2 definitely had me excited because I thought it would be something else. And boy, it was most certainly something else.
Oh, that's good. Oh, yeah. No, don't ignore them.
Don't bust that nut yet. We'll be right back.
Set in Metro City, Streetwise follows the story of Carl Travers.
And that bloody looking guy in the corner, that's me. Can't say this is my most shining moment, but everyone says I got all this potential. Potential's good. I'm feeling good about being potentially good.
Who also happens to be the brother of Cody, someone Final Fight veterans would recognize. Or not. Yeah, we'll get into that later.
This is my bro Cody, a local hero. He don't fight anymore. Back in the day, he was the man. It's kind of a hard ass, but he's always been there for me.
Kyle is a fighter who makes his money by taking part in underground fight clubs. And you're off. That's it. I could see that this introduction is supposed to serve like a tutorial for the game, but there were literally no on-screen hints at all. I had to pause the game and look at the button configuration to find out which button is for block, because I kept taking hits. For a moment I felt like Rihanna getting worked on by Chris Brown.
Yeah, that's not funny.
After the fight, Cody asks Kyle to meet him at the bar to celebrate, where we also meet Kyle's girlfriend Vanessa.
Vanessa Sims. What more can I tell you about her you can't see for yourself? She's sexy and tough. Not a bad combination.
Cody turns up and tells Kyle that he wants to get back in fighting, but Kyle is against the idea because, I don't know, Cody's got arthritis or something. The brothers get attacked by someone called the Stiff.
The Stiff? Who the hell is this? Better yet, what kind of shit has Cody stepped into? One thing's for sure, this guy means business. And something stinks.
After a lengthy bar brawl, which I was clearly winning, we get a cutscene where Kyle is knocked out and Cody is abducted. And thus begins our journey in the universe of Streetwise, as Kyle follows one lead after another to find his abducted brother.
Baby, what are you doing?
What do you think? I need to find Cody.
Halfway through the campaign, the game throws a curveball by introducing these junkies high on a designer drug called Glow.
Tell the man this is some wicked shit, man.
Yeah, you'd wish these junkies were addicted to fentanyl or something, because this drug gives these junkies super strength or something, which in gameplay term means that they do a little bit more damage than your standard enemies.
Look at his eyes. What the hell is this freak tripping on? And what's he doing here?
Kyle meets Stiff and after a boss battle decides to see if, Stiff can fly or something. Turns out he can't.
Flying! Jack!
Kyle also meets some classic Final Fight characters like Guy, who's like this Yakuza gangster or something.
Guy? Where have I heard that name before? Ah, shit. The tattoo. What have I gotten myself into? I've never seen hands that fast.
And Hager, who is no longer the mayor of Metro City but now spends his time at a junkyard.
Can you believe this guy used to be the mayor of Metro City? Back in the day, you did not mess with this city without messing with the man. It must have made him sick to see what a shithole this place has become. But I guess it's nothing he won't try to fix someday. With his fists.
I mean, talk about character assassination. And I looked into it. Turns out one of the biggest complaints fans of the series had was how much the developers had changed the characters. So yeah, if you're a fan of Final Fight series, prepare to be disappointed.
Yeah? And what's the rest of the story?
Things get more complicated when Kyle finds out that his brother Cody is also hooked on the drug.
This will not end with Cody. We must stop this drug, or there will be nothing left of Metro City worth saving.
Guy tells Kyle about a warehouse in the Pier District where the glow is manufactured. At the warehouse, Kyle meets a scientist named Dr. Chang, who seems to be doing some unethical experiments.
Dr. Chang. This is the mastermind behind Glow? Shit, man. Evil never looked this good. So much for judging a book by its cover.
Oh, hell no! Is that the Stiff? Well, Stiff is back from the dead and Kyle has to send him back to the underworld. After the boss battle, Guy manages to destroy the lab. And this is where things go from bad to worse.
Hey! Oh shit! That's my hood!
The destruction and violence before you seem to be linked to a powerful new drug called Glow. It is clear that this drug has potent physical effects, but is less clear whether
I've gotta get to Vanessa!
Turns out these glow-infested junkies are running rampant and destroying the city. Also, the main bad guy is a church pastor called Father Bella, who wants to bring the apocalypse or something. I don't know, he's like supposed to be this established baddie in the Final Fight lore or something. I'm not a big fan, I have no idea what's going on, I'm just going with the flow. So Kyle goes to his church to face him, and this is where the game boss rushed me, as I had to take on these mutated versions of the standard glow junkies. I had to fight war, famine,
Fuck me.
pestilence, and at the end, death.
Cody.
And you know what? At this point, I gave up. I seriously gave up. I stopped playing the game after this. You can hate me for it, but I could only take so much, you know? The game threw 4 boss battles at me back to back. 6 if you count 2-tier boss battles like when I fought Pestilence and Death Cody. Because at the end, when you have defeated Cody, you have to fight Father Bella as well. At the same time when you're fighting Cody. And guess what? Father Bella can knock you on your ass with his firearm. So you know what? I said, forget it. I've had enough. I went on YouTube. I looked at some of the long plays and realized that I really wasn't that far off from the end. And Death Cody battle was indeed the last. But you know what? I've had it. So yeah. Here's what I picked up from one of the long plays. Kyle manages to defeat Father Bella, shoots him in the head, bang bang, okay, good night. Cody goes back to being normal at the end, credits roll, and there you have it. That's Final Fight Streetwise.
Damn straight. I'm proud of you, little brother.
Honestly, the story is okay. It starts off strong with Kyle and Cody getting attacked and keeps itself grounded as you meet different shady characters, like the mob boss who runs underground fighting tournaments. But the second half is where the game flips itself on its head, and now you have to prevent the apocalypse. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I was not a big fan, of the second half of the game. But yeah, the first half, solid, loved it. The cutscenes are cheesy, well, it is PlayStation 2 era, and I kinda like the voiceover acting, which surprised me because when I had a quick look, a lot of them are people who were working on the game on a technical level. For example, Kyle Travis's voiceover actor, Trent Kaniwaga, I'm sorry if I butchered your name over there, sorry, was working as a concept artist for the game. Gerardo Sprigg, who voiced the character Weasel, also worked as the environment lead for the game.
No, don't ignore them.
So yeah, a lot of the voiceover cast were just part of the development crew that pulled double duties. And I think they did a pretty good job.
Get cute, you're dead.
Time to talk about the gameplay because, let's be real here, this is what determines if the game still holds up or not. And well, it kind of doesn't. Final Fight Streetwise is a 3D beat 'em up, which to a certain degree the game does that. You got your quick light attacks, slightly slower but heavy attacks, you can grab onto enemies, pick objects and either throw them at your opponents or use it as a weapon. You can also guard incoming attacks, and if timed right, you can also counter enemy attacks as well. You can also enter the instinct mode, which makes Kyle deal a little bit more damage than usual, an extremely important feature that comes in handy in tougher battles. I'm going to give credit where it's due. The hand-to-hand combat is extremely fun, not to mention satisfying. Whether you're fighting the typical generic hoodlums or glow-infected enemies, the hand-to-hand combat is something that never bored me. However, there were weapons I could use as well. From melee weapons like baseball bats and swords to handguns, shotguns, submachine guns, and even Molotov cocktails. The best part is, if I pick a weapon and don't want to use it straight away, I could stash it and use it later, which is handy if you're roaming the streets of Metro City, but not ideal before going into boss battles because you would lose that stashed weapon. Now, I was expecting a straight up non-stop action game where you tear through waves upon waves of enemies, Streets of Rage 4 style. Instead, what I got was the open world of Metro City that I could explore on foot. The city is broken into 4 locations: the Hood, where you start off from, the Pier, Little Italy, and Japantown. And surprisingly, those are open for you to explore. In fact, it is actually encouraged. There are loads of side missions and mini games for you to play in those districts. Most of them are initiated when you interact with NPCs walking around. Yeah, we have a PS2 game where NPCs are walking around, a lesson the creators of Avowed should have learned. While some NPCs say generic stuff, some actually offer quests which are fun, like protecting someone, fetch quests, and so on. Speaking of which, I found it hilarious what some of those NPCs had to say, like this lady of the night with the British accent.
Want some of this? Hey, sweetheart. You want a shag?
Hey! It's haram, bro! Haram!
And there are some moments in the game that legitimately brought a chuckle or two on my face, like some of the names of the thugs that I was beating down. Since Kyle is a pit fighter, you can take part in underground fight clubs to win big money. These fights are one-on-one, and some of them are actually pretty tricky. As a nice little Easter egg, you can fight Cammy in Japantown. Yes, Cammy, the character that little to no people cared about but suddenly became fan favorite thanks to fan art, Rule 34, and OnlyFan models. Yes, that hot bombshell of a vixen. You get to fight her and oh my god. What the fuck? You know what? I shouldn't really complain about the graphics. At the end of the day, the creators of the game were working with a console that has less video memory than your average smartphones. So yeah, it's amazing how much detail they managed to put in the game. From Kyle showing physical damage if his health drops too low, to his opponents showing bruises when they're fighting in the pit. I cannot complain about that. But there are things that I need to complain about, and I will. Just not yet. One thing that I gotta appreciate that the developers managed to do was that they included the original Final Fight games in Streetwise that you can play from the main menu. Heck, there's even an additional mode where you can take on waves of enemies as you make your way from one part of the level to the other. Not gonna lie, I enjoyed it. Which makes me wonder if the developers wanted to give gamers a taste of Seven Sons, the Final Fight game that could have been. More on that later. The storyline plays out like GTA missions. Go to location X, do something, mission passed, respect and money earned. Which is fine, but I don't see the point of earning respect. I earned respect and all I got was people cheering me on. It didn't add any other benefits on top of it. Like, I would have appreciated if I was given discount at stores or something for being an upstanding pillar of community, but all it resulted in me was getting chased by my rabid fans, and some of them even got in my way when I was fighting enemies. Honestly speaking, I wasn't really bothered about respect, but I was more concerned with money because that is what helped me survive on the brutal streets of Metro City. Money. You see, if you have enough money to spend, you can buy weapons and healing items from shops across the city. You can even buy upgrades to your health, your focus bar, and even upgrade your attack power, which makes you a badass if you have enough money early on. Money. You can also use money to buy additional audio tracks in the game. I didn't buy any, but one of the songs included was from Slipknot, and it actually brought a smile to my face. Reminded me of the time when I was young and I could easily headbang to metal songs on the dance floor without every bone in my body screaming for mercy. Ah, the good old days.
Boring!
And just like in GTA, you can change tracks with D-pad buttons. Now, all of this may have sounded good on paper, but it didn't translate well in the finished game. You see, money plays an important role in Metro City. And sometimes you need money to make more money. And if you're not careful with how you spend your hard-earned cash, you may have a hard time progressing in the game. For example, in order to take part in pit fights, you need to put down some of your own cash, but you can't take part in them if you don't have it. So, to get some cash, you either need to beat up some thugs who don't drop enough cash or play side missions which can be hit or miss. So, in short, if you're good at kicking ass, you will have a lot of spare cash to level up. If not, then you will struggle. A lot. I think the developers needed some more time to balance this feature a bit more, because not having enough cash in a game where it plays an important feature is very annoying. I think this seems to be the best time to talk about the flaws of the game, and trust me, there are many. The first issue I had with the game is the save system. You cannot manually save your progress in the game. That's right, if you want to save the game, you have to quit to the main menu, and even then there's an issue with it. You see, the game saves your storyline progression and not your character progression. So in other words, suppose you're playing the story missions and you get a new objective. Anything you do before your objective is updated again will not be saved. So if you manage to buy some upgrades, maybe completed some side missions or made some extra cash by some luck, if you die, you will start from that last checkpoint and you will lose everything you did in the middle. Yes, I learned that the hard way and I nearly uninstalled the damn game. Another issue I had was with the camera. It kind of positioned itself closer to Kyle every time he entered combat. I had to manually pull it out back to see what was around me. Speaking of which, remember when I said the game has firearms? The amount of times I got shot by someone who was not even in my view is beyond me. Speaking of which, using guns is a big pain in the backside. I don't know, dude, guns just don't work in this game. The shooting mechanics felt clunky. It was made even worse because near the end of the game, I had to rely on guns. So yeah, not fun. If you don't believe me, look at the screen right now. Does this look fun to you? Honestly, it wouldn't be that bad, but the way guns are handled in this game is just really annoying. If Kyle is shot, it stun locks him. Not an issue on its own, but if you are surrounded by enemies with melee weapons and that one firearm that the enemy is using happens to be a submachine gun, you are so screwed. There's actually a mission where I had to fight these gangsters and all of them had submachine guns. Bro, I had so many bullet holes in me, I thought I was the Spot from Spider-Man. I know Streetwise has mini games to prevent the game from being repetitive and allow the player to make some cash to use in-game, but these mini games were just so damn repetitive. No matter which district you're gonna go to, I guarantee you will meet someone who will ask you to smash a car. I know it's a nod to Street Fighter games, but when you think about it, you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. It just became repetitive and I hated it. There are times in the game when I had to interact with NPCs to get something done. Like there's a mission in the game where someone asked for me to get him like a baseball bat. The NPC used that bat to rob a store and now it was down to me to get the stolen money back. I enjoyed these missions because it actually made Metro City feel alive. What I didn't like was squashing cockroaches, those picture puzzles, those damn shooting mini games, and don't even get me started on those keypad puzzles. How did I make through those puzzles without giving up on this game is beyond me. If PS2 had achievement system, I would have unlocked one saying, solve the keypad puzzle without breaking your shit.
Daddy, chill.
Look, I'm not saying that side missions are bad in this game. They are fun, but I didn't enjoy doing the same thing over and over again. And the ones that were fun, there weren't that many of them. Screw you, Ratatouille! And the worst part is, these side missions, you have to play them to make money. Otherwise, like I said earlier, you're gonna struggle progressing in the game. You can't unlock upgrades. You can't get the weapons to fight back. These mini games become... they're no longer a distraction. They are a necessity now. Look, I get it. Game development is not easy. I know because I'm trying to develop one myself. There are a lot of things a developer needs to take into account, from level designing to character creation, level prototyping, coding, dialogues, mission objectives, animations, particle effects, balancing the game design. Bro, even the main menu is taking me ages to make. So trust me when I say this, I understand how difficult game development can be. But at the end of the day, when people are going to buy your game, they are not going to consider how much you had to go through during its development. They are going to look at it and wonder if the price justifies the finished product. And I'm sorry, but it doesn't. And that brings us to the part of the video which, quite frankly, is kinda depressing. The game was developed by Capcom Studio 8. I looked into their game development portfolio and I couldn't really find much. They worked as support on most games. They only have one title that they developed from start to finish, and that's Final Fight Streetwise. Remember I mentioned that Trent guy who worked as a concept artist on the game and also did the voiceover for Kyle Travis? Well, he has a YouTube channel on which he discusses his concept art. One of the videos he made was about Final Fantasy Streetwise, and I discovered some shocking details about the game's development and its release. I'll leave a link to his video in the description box below, but there are some interesting details I gathered. Once again, I urge you to check his video yourself because Trent went in detail about some of the things that I'm going to be mentioning right now. Number 1, Capcom wanted this Final Fight entry to be gritty and more mature. Their inspiration was Grand Theft Auto 3. Yes, now you know why I mentioned GTA multiple times in my video. So yeah, Capcom wanted a GTA experience minus the G, the T, and the A. And it would make sense because Capcom was also responsible for publishing the GTA series in Japan. Capcom wanted to experiment with one of their IPs and try to inject some GTA DNA. Number 2, the development team consisted of 25 people. Yes, you heard that correct. Just 25 people. By comparison, the team that worked on the original Silent Hill 2 for PlayStation 2, Team Silent, consisted of 50 people, with Konami bringing in an additional 30 people to help them out. And Team Silent consisted of a bunch of outcasts that Konami weren't so particularly keen on. So, yeah, no wonder Capcom Studio 8 pulled double duties on the project. Number 3, Capcom Studio 8 was already working on a Final Fight game called Final Fight 7 Sons, a cel-shaded game that played a lot more like the original Final Fight games, as seen in the video uploaded 16 years ago on the YouTube channel Unseen64, an archive for beta and cancelled games. Number 4, and this is possibly the most depressing one, the game flopped hard. I mean hard. Capcom practically disowned the game, and the story is considered non-canon. It is also the only Final Fight game that was not released in Japan. it was so disappointing that some developers who worked on the game asked their names to be removed from the credits. Which is weird because back then, the old consoles were not connected to the internet or anything, so it's not like they could update the credit screen. So logic would dictate those developers saw the writing on the wall and thought, nah, this game would not look good on my resume, so yeah. Some of them asked their names to be removed from the credit screen. Like I said, I'll leave a link to Trent's video in the description box below if you want to know more about his involvement with the game and its development. I could not find exact sales numbers, but if Capcom chose not to release the game in Japan, the home of Final Fight series, then you can take a guess that it must have been bad. Shortly after its release, Capcom pulled the plug on the entire studio and closed its doors, which is a shame really because yes, I had issues with the game, but if Capcom had given the developers some more time or greenlit Seven Sons, the outcome could have been different, not just for the series but for the studio as well. The game did have potential. The fighting mechanics, the idea of exploring Metro City and interacting with NPCs, the mature tone, the developers really put a lot of effort in Streetwise. It's a shame really that it wasn't given enough time to cook in the oven. Or maybe it was not called Final Fight and it was called something else. Oh no, wait. Hold up. Wait a minute, hold up. They did release an original beat 'em up. Yeah. Oh boy, now that is a can of worms I want to open. Oh yeah, definitely. In short, Streetwise is disappointing to say the least. I would not recommend it. The game was released on PlayStation 2 and Xbox. Oh, I didn't even touch the Xbox version. The Xbox version of Streetwise was developed by Secret Level, a company that is now known as Sega Studios San Francisco, and apparently that version had its own set of issues, but since I didn't play it, I cannot comment on it. What I can say is that before Secret Level worked on Streetwise, they worked on America's Army, Rise of a Soldier.
Shut up, silly woman.
Anyway, that's enough from me. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know by hitting that like button and leave a comment below, to give my life some meaning. I'm a part-time YouTuber, so your engagement with the channel will help me a lot in the long run. And I know I have not been uploading as much because, like I said, I have been working on my game, so that has been taking a lot of my time lately. But I will try to stay on top of my uploading schedule and keep you guys posted. Peace out, angels, and stay awesome.